1997 was a much simpler time. I, being 14, had no real stresses or worries, and could spend days on end playing what I wanted, without worrying that I was putting off some responsibilities. Well, that's a bit of a lie. I was probably meant to be doing homework at some times, but weren't we all, when we chose instead to game? Come on, let's be honest. But something happened late in that year that changed my life forever. In fact, it was probably early of the next year when I actually got it. Because before that point, I'd played, your Marios, your Sonics. I was a multi-system user. I'd even had Commodore 64 way back when. And I just played your platformers, your simple mainstream things. I never opened the door to JRPGs, or really RPGs of any type. Now, they're what I tend to gravitate towards. But way back when, I was just about the dopamine fix. Just, make the man jump and get to the end of a level. No, what's this deep story? But like I say, something changed. And I got a copy of Final Fantasy VII. And I never completed it when I first had it on the original PlayStation. I definitely remember the furthest point I'd gotten, and I can't remember which time I'd played through it was when Diamond Weapon was attacking Midgar. I waited on the beach, and that's the last thing I can remember for a long, long time. Because today's video is weird. I started the game, like I say, probably within a year or so of its release, but I had never completed it until a few weeks ago. And technically that makes it a finally, like Persona, but even going further back than that with my original exposure to it. And Final Fantasy VII has held this place in my heart for so long. This is why this is such a weird video. Because most finalies are about stuff that I knew vague ideas of and, enjoyed the thought of, but never really completed watching or playing it or whatever. But Final Fantasy VII, I have absorbed this world. And I don't think that's a weird phrase to use or a weird overstatement. I absorbed that world. I've watched Advent Children. I played some of Dirge of Cerberus, but I didn't like the change to a weird, doesn't work that brilliantly shooter mechanic. I completed Crisis Core on the PSP before I completed Final Fantasy VII. And there's a little sidebar to that. People always ask me why Rapsos, where did that come from? And I'm now going to open the door on that. Originally it was Rhapsodos Productions, but I felt it was a bit unwieldy. I've already got the word Productions, which is 3 syllables. It's a long word. So I wanted something shorter at the start, and Rhapsos still contains most of the word. I'm just missing an odd, ironically. And that was because of the character Genesis Rhapsodos that I got through playing Final Fantasy's spin-off or prequel Crisis Core on the PSP. So that is why this channel is called that. But back to what I'm talking about, I played that and loved it. And, like I say, watched Advent Children a number of times. I've made AMVs about it. One of which I think still exists on this channel somewhere. I may link it somewhere around my head or below. But I'd still never completed the actual main game. I knew what had happened because there's recaps with Advent Children and what have you. But I'd never seen that for myself. And then I was going through just my games that I had, and I was like, I've got 8 and I've got 9 on Steam, and the 10 and 10.2 remasters, and 12 and 13, and I think the whole 13 series I've got, if I remember rightly. But I hadn't got 7 and anything before then. So I managed to get some games that I didn't really enjoy and got a bunch of Steam refunds, and I'd actually got 15 quid sat in my Steam wallet. Final Fantasy VII, the Steam edition, is a tenner, at the time at least of me buying it. I technically wasn't spending any more than I'd put into the system. I wanted to withdraw it to my Steam wallet so I had something there for moments like this. I'd already spent it in my mind anyway. The money had left my bank account. So it sat there, and I went, okay, let's do this. Let's actually play Final Fantasy VII. But I'm not really giving the full story here, because what actually sparked it was a mod, the name of which I've forgotten at the time of recording, but it'll be below, and there will be a link to it in the description, that gives us high-definition models during gameplay, the kind of models you see in some cutscenes, like those during regular gameplay, upscaled backgrounds and artwork all over the place, text in a better font. Some of it's still in French, it's not fully translated into English yet, but my basic understanding of Romantic languages, and primarily French, I did do that to a point at A level. I did drop it, but I'm pretty decent with French that I could get by. It might be a deal breaker for some of you, which is why I'm saying it now, so you don't say, oh, this thing's partially French. There's not much of it. There's none of the stories in French. It's just some of the guides for chocobo riding and that kind of thing. You can probably figure it out. But, like I say, I saw something about this mod and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this mod a go. Not actually expecting that I would end up completing Final Fantasy VII. But I did. I tried to do all of it. I think I got to the battle with Ruby Weapon and just was like, okay, this is a super boss. And I'm not enjoying, throwing everything I have, trying to figure out how to beat him. I'm just going to go back to the Northern Crater and finish the core game. And man, did I enjoy that ride. The moment in Advent Children where everyone's throwing Cloud up during that battle and of course Aerith's hand comes out, or Aerith's, depending on what you prefer, comes out and pulls him up. That was a nod to late in Final Fantasy VII. I'd never seen the moment. There's so much that I'd seen referenced elsewhere that I didn't realise was a reference. I mean, like I say, I played to the point that Diamond Weapon attacked Midgar. I definitely remember getting that far. So I'd actually gone quite far into this game, technically. But I just never ended up completing it, and that was a weird thing. The fact, like I say, that I have loved all of the, world of Final Fantasy that's come after that and, spiraled around this one as well. The Final Fantasy VII series, if you will, the compilation. And I know that they're doing a sort of pocket version which will actually incorporate stories, that are side to that. So I may eventually play a version of Dirge of Cerberus that doesn't annoy me because it's a very different type of game and doesn't really work well with a controller scheme. But yeah, I finally completed Final Fantasy VII. I've still not completed Final Fantasy VIII yet. That's on the list. Or 9. I tried to do it straight after, but I think I'd been JRPG'd out. So I'm going to have a break. I also want to go back and play some of the older ones. Maybe like the updated versions, if I can get them. I've seen a guide. Don't everyone in the comments say, play this version of this one and this version of this one. There is a guide online that I've seen that says like the sort of best versions for quality of life improvements and not horrible, awful, mobile port, terrible, chibi graphics. But I will probably end up playing through all of them. Some of the spin-off things. It may be a long endeavour, I know. But I really want to see what I've missed in the years before. I mean, I have played, I think, at least the intro of 6 at some point, and I played the DS version of whatever it was, 3 or 4, I can't remember. But it's long enough ago that I don't really remember it, so I'm going to go through them all and just explore Final Fantasy in greater detail and bring myself up to date and see what 16 brings. I'm eager to find out how that looks. But obviously they're non-sequential, so I can do them out of order and it's fine. So I'm totally prepared to drop one and, not enjoy one and things like that. But yeah, my weird confession for today is I finally completed Final Fantasy VII in 2021. I think it was early this year. Yeah, it was in the last few months. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I really enjoyed it. Like I say, I've loved the world anyway. I think it's one of the greatest stories ever put in video games. It deserves its ranking as one of people's favourite games ever for a reason. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching and take care.